What's going on, guys? Devin McDonald with Bratton Sports Performance. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about our agility progressions here at BSP and how we implement them and what they look like for the athlete going through. So first, I do want to start by defining agility as it pertains to athletes. And so agility is the athlete's ability to process information that they receive and then be able to properly and appropriately move their body through time and space in correspondence to that information. And so we want to start in phase one of our agility progressions by giving the athlete the appropriate ability to efficiently change directions. And so we don't want to just throw the athlete into these complex drills where they're not going to feel comfortable changing directions and they're not going to be able to get in and out of those positions efficiently. Once we feel comfortable with the athlete getting in and out of these positions, we can then progress them to the next phase. And so these positions, as listed here, are the shuffle, so just moving laterally in that frontal plane, the back pedal, so moving forward and back in that sagittal plane, the directional and the crossover steps, so the athlete's ability to change direction rotationally or through that transverse plane, and then our hip turn. So again, the athlete's ability to rotate through that transverse plane and change their body position. And so what we're looking for here is to just make sure that the athlete feels very comfortable in these positions and that they're moving efficiently. So once we feel comfortable that the athlete is able to get in and out of these positions, they've collected those tools and put them in their toolbox, we can then progress them into phase two, which is appropriately using the correct tool given the situation that they're in. And so this is where we start incorporating those change of direction drills. Again, they are not quite agility because most of them are pre-planned, but we're getting the athlete familiar and comfortable with stringing together multiple changes of direction and getting them to feel what is appropriate given a certain situation. So we take them through a series of drills where it progressively challenges the athlete a little bit more each time. So we start them off with a U drill where they're quite literally just working in a U shape around two cones, working on that skill of just actually changing direction in space. And then we introduce speed cuts where now they have to work at multiple angles. Once they're able to make those sharp cuts at sharp angles, we can then introduce pro agility, where now we're expanding that distance and challenging the athlete in that matter. And then we introduce our box drills. So the box is just 4 cones, and now they have to make multiple cuts consecutively at all sorts of different angles. We can add another cone, so a box plus 1, which is just gonna add varied distance, varied angles for their change of direction. The 6th cone is where we start to introduce not sharp cuts, so being able to bend and work those ankles, knees, and hips, bend the body instead of just cut in a certain sharp direction. And so cone circles, we start to work on that linear deceleration where they're able to decel and then re-accelerate. The 2-cone acceleration, deceleration, we're just expanding that distance, expanding the complexity a little bit, and then we can get into our curved linear run where now the athlete is not working in a straight line, but instead they're incorporating a curved line, again, challenging the ankles, knees, and hips as they get into their change of direction work. We have a series of multiple drills then after that we can incorporate just based on where the athlete is at and what we deem is the best tool for them to progress at that time. And of course, every single one of these drills can be set up differently, it can be coached differently, we can add extra implements, we can add extra cones, and we can add some complexity to them. And so once the athlete feels very comfortable getting in and out of breaks at multiple speeds, angles, positions, they're just very comfortable with their ability to change direction, we're then able to apply that external stimulus, force the athlete to make decisions, and then appropriately change direction based on those decisions. And so that's when we're able to read, react, and apply. And so we have a series of different ways we do this. We can shadow, mirror, chase, tag, react, or gates. And so all of these are forcing the athlete to make decisions. They're just slightly different ways of doing that. And so shadow and mirror are similar. Mirror being the athlete has to copycat exactly what's going on in front of them and be able to make that decision and react to it. Whereas shadow, they are trying to follow someone else or another athlete and mimic their moves in that fashion. Chase and tag, again, are very similar in nature. Chase, an athlete is trying to chase down another athlete, so they are trying to catch up to them. Tag, we put the focus on the athlete trying to escape from another athlete, so they're avoiding them at all costs. And then we have reactions, which is implementing things like lacrosse balls or other external implements that an athlete may have to catch, or pointing certain directions where an athlete has to be able to visually see, or adding certain audible cues like left, right, or calling out a color cone where an athlete has to interpret that information. And then gates, we may set up certain openings for an athlete and you have to call out a specific gate or have another partner step in and close a specific gate, and that athlete has to make a reaction off of that. And so these are ways that we force the athlete to interpret information, receive information, process it, and then use the skills that they've learned to properly move their body in accordance with that information that they've received. So if you guys have any questions on what this stuff looks like, how to implement it, or what's appropriate given an athlete's ability level at their current state, feel free to reach out. Otherwise, stay tuned for next week's Coach's Corner. Thanks, guys.